Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another prospect breakdown featuring LSU wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase. I am Brad Kelly. You can subscribe to my page using the button in the upper right-hand corner, and make sure you turn on those notifications. You can follow my other work at BradKelly17 on Twitter. Ja'Marr Chase opted out of the 2020 college football season in order to prepare for the 2021 NFL Draft after being a key part of LSU's national championship team. He won the Biletnikoff Award for the best receiver in college football as a true sophomore after posting almost 1,800 receiving yards and 20 touchdowns, catching passes from number one overall pick Joe Burrow. He's listed at 6'1", 208 pounds, and he's going to be freshly turned 21 years old when he's drafted in April, projecting as a first-round pick. Looking into his skill set, his best asset as a player has to be his play strength. He's built with broad shoulders. He attacks defenders with physicality, just a type of level of physical gifts that you don't normally see in NFL draft prospects. His play strength is that trump card and his ultimate weapon on vertical routes. He's also strong during his route steps. He uses his hands to kind of create separation. And late in the catch process, he'll use his hands to create separation. He's just a bully while he's contested at the catch point. He'll fight through defensive backs towards the football, work his way through them, or he can even read that ball that comes in over his shoulder and fade and drift late in that catch process so a defensive back can't contest or break up the throw. Defenses often plan to press Chase at the line of scrimmage, but even when he initially gets held up, he's often able to separate and win down the field because of that strength. For Chase, the reason that he so often faces that press coverage is he will get held up during his stem and sometimes taken out of the play a little bit. Now, sometimes he's able to fight through it late or use a counter, but too often he's just kind of getting washed away from his route. Now, he faced some of the best cornerbacks in the country last season, guys like first-round picks A.J. Terrell, C.J. Henderson, and also Cameron Dantzler of Mississippi State, who found a lot of success pressing him and ultimately sticking to his hip on a lot of vertical routes. Chase doesn't have that dynamic straight line speed. He's not as fast as a Jalen Waddle or previous first-round picks like a Henry Ruggs or a Jalen Reagor. So beating contact for him is what's ultimately going to allow him to separate down the field. He needs to be more consistent at clearing a vertical path for his pads when he releases against press coverage, being able to move side to side and being able to get that path where he can now use his physical gifts and his strength to fend off contact and ultimately separate down the field. There are certain cases where Chase doesn't seem to have a route plan or a counter for the movement of defensive backs, sometimes failing to disengage from contact and ultimately being crowded as he breaks. There are also examples of Chase being a little bit too upright in his route, standing too tall, and ultimately slowing his stem and taking too many steps to get out of that break. Now, his frame and his ball skills can still lead to receptions while he's crowded or he's covered. But in the NFL, his separation needs to be a bit more consistent if he fails to develop a better plan. When it comes to the intermediate route tree, Chase's best weapon continues to be that play strength and his ability to win when he's crowded. Especially in the red zone or in breaking routes, Chase can be dominant because he's very often able to make plays in those tight windows. The way that he can just rip the ball into his body with authority ensures that he'll be able to produce over the middle of the field at the next level. After the catch, Chase is a force because of his contact balance and his power through would-be tacklers. His play strength shows up just as often as it does with the ball in his hands as it does during his route tree. He does a great job in space at getting behind his blockers and fighting through any potential tacklers. Now, like I said before, he's not a special speed athlete as far as his 40 time is going to be concerned. I don't think he's going to run in the 4.3s, but he can still be dynamic after the catch because he's just a nightmare for defensive backs to get on the ground. So he can be schemed up in the slot or on screen throws because he's just going to be really tough for smaller defensive backs to be able to handle, especially when he's able to build up a little bit of a head of steam. Even more impressive is that Chase has a complete game as a football player, capable of being a physically dominant blocker. His effort is high. He can clear space and running lanes as a stock blocker or for his fellow wide receivers after the catch. He's strong enough to be schemed into the blocking scheme in the box, cracking a linebacker or a strong safety and really laying the wood. Chase competes at a high level throughout the game, constantly shows up with his blocking. As far as his hands go, there were some cases of Chase dropping passes over the course of the season, but they are more a result of a lack of concentration while tracking the deep ball. This drop showed up here or there, and it's important to show that they do exist, but they're not a huge concern for him after catching 84 passes as a sophomore, and his ball skills and extension are generally very consistent. His high level of production at a young age, his strength and his success on vertical routes, his ability to beat press coverage, give Chase a high ceiling as an NFL player and will be the result of him getting drafted within the top 10 picks. His complete skill set gives him the potential of a Pro Bowl, leading wide receiver one for an NFL team, and expect a wide receiver needy team drafting early to be locked in on Chase throughout the pre-draft process.